record on this computer. We're recording. All right. And everyone give me a big cheese so I could take a picture so I could post it like JJ always says. Cheese. Oh my goodness. What did this do? I don't want to share my screen. I just want to take a screenshot. My computer's very confused. Sorry. One more time. Cheese. Okay, that worked. Okay. So with that all being said and done, I'm really excited. For any of you who don't know Lorraine, I've had the pleasure of speaking to her every Monday night for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months at least, right?
Yeah.
So she is also a part of our top results consulting group with Sean Tiberio. So we get to have calls every Monday to go over, all these beautiful SEO ideas. Oh, speaking of which, before Lorraine starts, Liz, our ninja tip for the day is everyone who records videos needs to actually put on their phone a teleprompter app. Because Liz and I would try and remember little scripts, and for a 40-second video, we would record it like 17 times, and we'd mess everything up, and we'd be like, oh my God, I could see your eyes moving. And we'd put it on a screen behind us, and it would never work. And then we found this lovely teleprompter light app. I think I posted it a few weeks ago, and now we get to just read it on the app while we're recording, and our eyes don't do crazy things, and it's awesome. So anyway, ninja
and I think we recorded like 17 videos today.
Yeah, and it only took us like 25 takes to record 17 videos. So we only had, maybe 8 or 9 videos that we were just like, oh, we got to check that one didn't work. Where we used to have like 8 or 9 crap for each video, for each one that we wanted to do. So we got all of our location pages done today, Lorraine, okay?
Nice.
Just so you know, we did 7 pages. Anyway.
I was just looking up the teleprompter app because I need
Which
to
one
do
is
more
it,
videos.
I think it's called Teleprompter Lite, I want to say, but I will put a link into the Facebook group after this.
Okay, cool.
Everyone can find it, because it's amazing. So anyway, just a random ninja tip. If you're recording videos, use the Teleprompter app. And we would write all of our dialogue on a Google Drive and then copy and paste it into the app, and then it all just flows there, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, you can speed it up and slow it down too, you guys. I mean, it really is amazing because we would find out that all of a sudden we'd be reading and it was going too fast for what we didn't know. That's where we'd have to stop and go back through, and we could totally adjust it, and it makes a world of difference. I mean, I can't even tell you how good it is. So
no, and so we were recording today, and I was like, oh, I have to bring it up tonight. It's a ninja tip for everyone. Awesome. Okay, so with that being said, Lorraine is a expert in mortgage note investing, and I cannot tell you how many people have recommended her, and she's been on several different podcasts and stuff lately, and everyone's reaching out to her like, oh my gosh, I see all this stuff that you're doing, please, I want to learn from you, want to learn from you. And I'm so privileged to have her here. Although when I told her I was going to have her, I was like, oh, you can't come on until May. And this was probably back in March. And she was like, really? You're booked until March? And I was like, I got the weekly huddles on point this year, guys. I've been bringing a lot of good content. So hopefully you're tuning in.
It was mostly I was impressed that you were so organized to have everything scheduled through June already. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing next week, much less having everything scheduled till May. So now it was more impressed versus surprised.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And Liz has been helping me this year. So I feel like we've been doing a really good job. So I'm really proud of that. But without further ado, I just, Lorraine, why don't you give everybody a little bit of background on who you are and what you do, and then I'll let you just jump right in. And like I said, I'll keep myself on mute unless you need me or unless I see something on the chat box.
Sure, thanks. So hey everyone, happy Cinco de Mayo. I don't see any drinks though. I feel bad that, Perfect. Nice. Nice. Okay, great. I feel better now. I don't have mine because I'm trying to stay focused, right? You know, I'm all more business right now. But so my name is Lorraine. I live in the Bronx, New York. My company is Melanin Homes, and we're basically a real estate solutions company. So outside of real estate, I still have a W-2. I'm not as lucky as Marie yet to be able to put in my papers, but I still have a W-2 job. So I work as a paralegal, but I also have experience in taxes. And so this is a very busy time for taxes right now as the deadline is coming up. And then also another fun fact, I dabble in Forex and cryptocurrency trading. So if anybody has any questions for me about that, love to speak about that topic as well. So that's just a little bit of background about myself. And I have a presentation, and I do want this to be a little bit conversational, but I do have some slides. If you wouldn't mind, I can share my screen. I always struggle with this, but
I just changed the settings so that all participants can share. So hopefully
okay,
you will be able to.
let me share.
There you go.
Do you see my screen?
I do.
Okay, perfect. I'm getting better at this. All right, so I already kind of went through this. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of get right into it in terms of when we think about note investing. I want to break down just a little bit about what exactly is a note. So a note is a written debt instrument. So it's basically like an IOU between yourself and the borrower, or excuse me, it's between you and the institution where you're buying the money from. And so the debt instrument outlines the principal, which is the amount you're borrowing, the interest of what you're paying back, and then the term, generally 15 to 30 years, right? That's what, when someone goes to an institution and they take out a mortgage, that is generally what they're doing. They're taking out, they're signing a debt instrument, which is outlining the amount that they're borrowing, how much interest is associated with that principal, and then the term. And so note investing is very, well, similar to other forms of debt, except that this is an intangible asset that's actually secured by property. When we think about stock investments or even cryptocurrency, those are also intangible assets that we're investing in, but they're not backed by anything. And so that's the unique thing about mortgage note investing, is that although it's intangible, and I say it's intangible because when we're investing in mortgage notes, we're investing in the paper, we're not investing in the property. And so that's why it's an intangible asset that is secured by the property. How I like to describe mortgage note investing is that we are buying debt at a discount. And I know we have a number of real estate investors here on the call, and sort of the mind shift that you have to keep in mind when you're doing mortgage note investing is that we're not as concerned with the property versus making sure that the numbers make sense in the investment that we're looking to make. Okay, so I will go to the next slide. And so when we're talking about buying debt at a discount, that is done in a number of ways. So when we're describing the different types of paper involved with mortgage note investing, that is in the form of a performing note. So as an example, if someone is going to a financial institution, a Chase, a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, HSBC, any of those institutions, and they're looking to take out a mortgage, and they are signing a promissory note to say, I promise to pay this amount of money at this and repaying it back at this interest rate over this length of time, that is the promissory note. And as long as they continue to perform on their promise of making their payments on the mortgage, that is a performing note. In the same instance, if someone is going to sign a promissory note, taking out a mortgage from an institution, and for whatever reason, they stop making those payments, you as the mortgage loan investor are now investing in a non-performing note. And I know it might be a little bit confusing in terms of, well, why would I want to invest in a piece of paper that's no longer performing? And I'll get into this in a few more slides, but essentially there are various exit strategies associated with non-performing notes. They can be a non-performing note, can be a sub-performing note, which means that this person hasn't been paying on their mortgage every single month, but maybe they're paying every other month or every couple of months. So it's not a true non-performing note, but it's a sub-performing note. And in those instances, that gives you the opportunity to either do a loan modification or other exit strategies that are available to make sure that your investment is protected. And then lastly, a reperforming note is if you purchase a non-performing note, which again means that the person who initially took out the promissory note is no longer making payments on their mortgage, you as the mortgage note investor have the opportunity to, if the numbers make sense, try to get that note back to reperforming. So I want to pause for a minute just in case there are any questions, because I think I kind of threw a lot out at you to begin with, but I don't know if there are any questions. I can't see the chat. If not, then I'll just keep going.
So Lorraine, I have a question. So
Yes.
with the paper notes, because I don't know anything about this. Okay, so they're in default when it comes to the performing notes. Is that correct?
No, as the performing notes, the initial borrower has been making payments on their mortgage.
Okay.
So you as the mortgage note investor, if you purchase a performing note, you are essentially becoming the bank in that instance. And so now the borrower is no longer making payments to Bank of America or Chase or Wells Fargo. They are now making those payments to you because you
Okay,
are now
all
the
right.
bank in that
Got it.
instance.
Okay.
So is that similar to like when, you sign a mortgage with one company, but then all of a sudden 6 months later, they're like, oh, you're not going to pay us anymore. You're now going to pay this institution because
Yes.
other institutions like buy notes, right? From other,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So I might have signed my
Absolutely.
mortgage with United Wholesale Mortgage, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, you're now paying this BSI Financial is now holding.
Now you're paying Bank of Lorraine Millington. Yes.
Right.
That
Oh,
is
okay.
Awesome.
yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Okay.
Yep.
And then that's a performing note. Those are people that are
That's a
making their
performing.
payments. And then
Right.
non-performing are people that stop making their payments.
And they stop making their payments. And a lot of times based upon what we see, what I see in the inventory, people could have stopped paying a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So sometimes the property is not even occupied anymore. And so that speaks a little bit more to some of the exit strategies that are available. But yes, essentially a non-performing note means they are no longer making payments on the property. Now, again, the non-performing notes could appear to be non-performing on paper, but once you do more due diligence and research on the property, it might actually turn out to be either a sub-performing or the potential to be a re-performing note. So, I mean, those are a bit more advanced strategies, but I figured I'd just mention it for the sake of just giving a general overview.
But is that something you could help us with, Lorraine?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right.
Oh yeah, Roberta, I'm getting there. So don't worry.
Okay,
we're gonna get into the weeds tonight. Don't you worry.
All right.
Okay, so those are the types of paper. So I do want to kind of give an overview of what the benefits of mortgage note investing is. So again, most of us on this call, if not all of us on this call, or who might be listening, are real estate investors. And so a lot of times our education is stemmed around looking for property, right? We're looking for distressed properties or looking for distressed investors. And a lot of that is a legwork. We have to be involved in a lot of those aspects in order to be able to find these properties or find these sellers. So mortgage note investing is a truly passive income strategy because, as I mentioned, if you're purchasing a performing note, you step in as the bank and now you are receiving a monthly cash flow as you are the bank, but you're not a landlord. You're not dealing with the tenants and the toilets and the trash and the repairs of the property. You are responsible to just receive your monthly income. And if you happen to not receive your monthly income, again, that's when we get into some more advanced strategies of either modifying the loan or potentially having to.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I think can you still hear me?
I can hear you now, but you
Okay.
went blank for a minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My headphones are messing with me, but I'm glad you can hear me now.
I don't know about the other ladies though. Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, hold on one sec. I'm gonna mess up this recording. I apologize. Let me just connect my AirPods. Sorry, everyone.
By the way, nice company name.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Uh-oh, you went blank again.
it.
Yeah, it might, I was gonna say it
There
might
you
be
go.
AirPods.
Okay, yeah,
There you go.
we're gonna just go without those for right now. Okay. And let me just, okay. So what were I hope you heard of me describing about the truly passive aspect of the notes. But I can repeat that again. So essentially,
I know, but you dropped off right when you were saying what would happen if they stopped paying on it.
okay, so thank you. So that's when we go into some of the more advanced strategies in terms of whether or not we either modify the loan or potentially having to go into foreclosure proceedings to redeem the property in order to be able to get back our investment. But as the bank, you are able to control the property, but you don't own the property. And so that's the beauty of that strategy. Now, I know before we got on this call, there was a lot of talk about 401k rollovers and establishing a solo 401k and things of that nature. And so with those entities in place, mortgage loan investing can really be a way for you to grow your retirement accounts. And I'm not a financial advisor, but what I can say is that if you have a self-directed IRA already established, or if you have a solo 401k established, you have the opportunity to invest in properties within those vehicles. And depending on how it's set up, I mean, you can have a self-directed Roth IRA, and whatever money you invest in that self-directed Roth IRA, the earnings that it generates, because I do have a tax background, I can speak a little bit to this, the earnings that it generates can grow tax-free within that account if you leave it in there for a certain amount of time. And so when you're looking at mortgage loan investing, if you're purchasing a performing note within your self-directed IRA, money that you weren't even planning to be touching anyway, the earnings from that performing note will just go right back into your self-directed IRA and be able to grow tax-free. So this is an opportunity for you to be able to grow your retirement account at a truly passive rate. You also have the opportunity to build your portfolio. If we're looking at non-performing notes, with the opportunity to redeem the properties back and then exhibit or execute on exit strategies, whether it be wholesaling or rehabbing or even a buy and hold, mortgage loan investing can sort of be a back door into being able to pick up properties at below market value, because of the way that we're structuring the deals. So that's just another option. And then what's what's very interesting to me is the ability to work from anywhere. The way that the mortgage loan investing is set up is that I can really do most of the activities from my computer. We have the ability to network and to recruit boots on the ground. And so with mortgage loan investing, if I do most of my desktop due diligence from my computer and then recruit boots on the ground, I can really do this strategy from anywhere. So those are some of the benefits. Now, also with benefits come disadvantages, right? So some of the disadvantages that I feel you can come across with mortgage loan investing is that it is a longer term investment. When we're talking about wholesaling or we're talking about rehabbing, we're generally looking to be into those investments from anywhere from a couple of weeks to a few months. And that's not necessarily the case with mortgage loan investing, because depending on whether it's a performing or more so a non-performing note, we're going to be involved with that investment for a little bit longer before we actually see the return on investment. So I term mortgage note investing as a hurry up and wait type of game, because it's not going to be just an overnight turnaround, but it is going to provide you with a good return. And I say good conservatively, but a good return on your investment. Speaking
Lorraine, can
more
you
to the
say what kind of terms, as far as like several years, what's typical?
So a lot of times it depends on what state you're investing in, because each state has different procedures. But if we're looking to invest in, let's say, a state like Nevada, for example, Nevada is a non-judicial state. And what that means is that if we have to take the property, or if we have to go through the foreclosure process, in a non-judicial state, it doesn't have to go through the courts. So that cuts down on our time to be able to get through the process, to be able to either have the property go to foreclosure auction or be able to redeem the property. So, and I, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you the exact days that the foreclosure has to be posted and all of that stuff. But you probably, and then it also depends on whether the property is vacant or occupied, because in some of our experience, if it's occupied, maybe we can do a cash for keys type of scenario to avoid the foreclosure process. Maybe we can do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So all of those options can help to cut down on the time that you as the bank are able to redeem the property. But I would say, if it's a non-performing note, you should be looking to be in it at least for 6 months. I would say at least, before you have the opportunity to redeem the property back and then be able to execute any exit strategies. I would say that's a reasonable amount of time. Can something happen before then? Of course. Can it take a little bit longer than the 6 months? Absolutely. But I would say that's a good roundabout time frame. Yes, so that describes a little bit of the foreclosure process in terms of one of the disadvantages, because it can take some time depending on the state. And then another disadvantage that I would say, a disadvantage, is the limited tax advantages. So what I mean by that is, when you're investing in real estate, and let's say you're a buy and hold investor, a lot of the advantages to that strategy is that you get depreciation on the property when you're filing your tax return. So that works as a credit and a benefit to you as the investor. And then you also have the opportunities for appreciation. So those are just some of the initial advantages. Let's say, again, if you're a buy and hold investor. With mortgage loan investing, because you're investing in the paper versus the actual property, those tax credits aren't necessarily available to you. So you're generally just making cash flow or just making profit. I shouldn't say just, but you're making either cash flow or profit on the property versus having those longer term tax advantages. Unless, again, you're investing in a retirement account where, depending on how it's organized, those profits are growing tax free. So yeah, those I would say those are some of the disadvantages.
So Lorraine, we did get
I'll
a
speak.
comment that came over in the chat, so I just wanted to ask.
Okay.
Gail says, if the note goes non-performing and you have to foreclose, when the property sells, if there is any amount above what is owed to the owner of the note, would that go to the party that was foreclosed on?
No, and I've heard that before, that if it goes to auction, and let's say, to use some easy numbers, let's say there was 50,000 owed on the property, and then it ended up selling for 100,000. Would that in between 50,000 go to the borrower? And no, in my experience, that additional amount would not go back to the borrower. Because if that were the case, then everybody would let their property go to foreclosure and then be like, hey, I'll just get paid on it. I'm not going to pay anything, but then I'll get an additional 50,000. So in my experience, no, that money does not go back to the borrower.
Do you know where that money goes? Now I'm curious.
I would think it would go to the county, quite honestly, because you as the note investor are going to get back your initial investment plus expenses. And then if it sells for anything above that amount, then it goes back to the county. That's the whole point of it being at auction in the first place.
Gotcha.
So yes, but thank you for that question. That was a good question. Um, okay, so to speak a little bit about the exit strategy. So to kind of lay out this process, let's say you purchase a non-performing note, or maybe you even purchase a performing note that turned into a non-performing note, and now you have to go through the foreclosure process. You go through the foreclosure process, it goes to auction, and it doesn't sell at auction. So now it returns back to you, or you redeem the property as an REO. Because again, even though we are individuals, we are the bank in this scenario. And so now once the property redeems back to us, it becomes an REO, or a bank-owned property. So once it becomes a bank-owned property, or now that it's back in our possession, now we can execute on multiple exit strategies. We can sell it as is or wholesale to a cash buyer. We can rehab it and then sell it retail. We can buy and hold. So basically we can rent it out or create a new note of our own and be able to basically either do a lease option or seller financing. You have the option to do a loan modification, again, even before it goes to auction, if the numbers make sense. In not every situation would I suggest doing a loan modification, because sometimes you might end up right back in the same position in 6 months to a year later, depending on the borrower's history. So those are just some. There's a couple of more advanced exit strategies that I won't necessarily get into on this call because I don't want to confuse anyone. But yeah, those are some of the general exit strategies that we can use when it comes to mortgage loan investing once we redeem the property. Okay, so I say this with caution because I do feel that everyone should at least have this as part of their portfolio. But I wanted to list these questions here to kind of pose to the group to say, should you invest in mortgage note investing, or maybe is it not necessarily a strategy for you? So I feel that this can work for, business owners who have a full-time career and who are looking for passive income strategies, but they just don't necessarily have time to be involved in the day-to-day activities. And I feel like mortgage note investing can be a perfect opportunity for those people. If you're an investor who has cash buyers who are in your network, or who are on your team, but you're just struggling to find inventory, maybe investing in non-performing notes could be a strategy for you. If you're basically kind of tired of spinning your wheels looking for either distressed sellers or distressed properties, and you'd rather invest in debt versus the property, then I think mortgage note investing could be something for you. If you're looking to build your retirement portfolio, I mean, stocks and all of these other options, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but you can add this on as well and kind of scale that account a little bit further or a little bit quicker. And really, if you're a tired investor, so someone who wants to still be involved with real estate, but you don't want to deal with people or you don't want to deal with the properties anymore, but you still want to have the opportunity to earn a better return or a greater return on your investment, then I think, again, this could be a good strategy for you. Bunch of wait. Yes, I agree. Okay, so oftentimes I get a question in terms of, okay, well, how do I get started with mortgage note investing? And I think most of the people on this call already have these things in place, but I'll just mention it anyway. So it is always recommended to have a legal entity in place, whether that be an LLC, whether that be a trust, whether that be a self-directed IRA, whether it be a solo 401k. Having a legal entity to be able to invest in these or make these investments is always recommended. The capital, right? You need to have the money. So, and a question that I generally get is, okay, how much capital would it take for me to be able to get started with mortgage note investing? And I don't like to give absolutes, but I will say that I have seen notes as low as around $10,000 or even underneath that, because there's a formula essentially attached with whether you're investing in performing notes and non-performing notes. We're not looking to spend the 100% of what the note costs. We're generally looking to pay a percentage of that. So I, again, have seen notes as low as 10,000 and then as high as six figures. So there's a wide range of how you can get your feet wet with this particular strategy. Um, Another thing that you would need in order to get started is the actual inventory. Unfortunately, you can't just, walk into Bank of America or Chase and say, oh yeah, let me just see the notes that you have on your books. I'd like to just purchase some of those properties. I mean, a lot of it is either affiliating yourself with someone who has already made those connections or established those relationships, or unless you're, daddy Wobucks and you have a whole bunch of money in the bank where you can purchase a large amount of these notes wholesale from these institutions, and I would say that's the other option. And then another thing that I would suggest having in place is boots on the ground. So similar to what I mentioned about being able to do this strategy from anywhere, that is mainly because you have boots on the ground. You have realtors, you have attorneys, you have servicing companies. Like, you have these people who are able to go to the property or put things in place for you in these remote locations. Because I'm in New York and I'm invested in a note in a state that I've never been to and probably will never go to. But I have that ability because I have boots on the ground in that location that would be able to take care of anything that I need for that property. So those are some of the ballpark things that I would say you should have in place in order to be able to get started with mortgage notes. Now, funding options. Um, so there are various ways that you can get started. And even if you, as I mentioned about the capital range from 10,000 to six figures, there are a lot of ways that you can find those funds. So let's say if you have the cash, great, you're on your way. But again, if you have a retirement account, if you're like Marie or maybe some other folks on this call who have the ability to roll over a previous 401k from a prior job, that's a perfect opportunity for you to be able to get started with this opportunity, because that's money that essentially, again, you weren't going to be using, and you can put that money to work for you. You can joint venture with someone. A lot of us have experience networking or working with private money lenders, or might be private money lenders ourselves. And so you can joint venture with someone, and you bring the experience or you bring the inventory and they bring the capital. And then that's another way, and you can split, the profits however you guys decide. But that's another way to get involved. And another one of my obsessions is business credit. And so I feel, depending on, how, if you've established the business or the credit for your business, this is another potential way to get started. Would I say it should be your first option, or would I suggest it being the first option for your first note? Maybe not, because the beauty of mortgage note investing is the flexibility, and then the risk in mortgage note investing is the flexibility, because a performing note can turn non-performing and a non-performing note can be performing. So not being married to one option or one outcome or the other, I would say that the business lines of credit could be a supplement, but it shouldn't be the initial funding option. But I think it is still an option. Okay. All right, so this is like a short case study that I have regarding the mortgage note that I'm currently invested in. So like I said, this is in Wisconsin. I've never gone to Wisconsin. I don't have any plans to go to Wisconsin, but this particular investment has been a pretty profitable one for me. So the purchase price was around 10,000. That's including the acquisition. That's including taxes, insurance, paying the servicing company, attorney's fees, all of that stuff. The as is value. So let's say if it happens to turn into a non-performing note and I end up redeeming the property and I have to sell it, as it is right now, the as is value is 40,000 if I put no more money into it, if I don't put a dime into it. But I currently do have a tenant who is occupying the property, and she has been paying me monthly. So the monthly payment is about $560 per month. So essentially, the return on the investment for this particular property would be about 43%. Now, I present this this case study because I did want to put some real life numbers to the strategy, but I don't want anyone to get married to these numbers because they definitely fluctuate, and not every deal is going to look like this. But I did want to show that it is a possibility. It's just not going to happen in every instance. But yeah, so that's that. And then I'll stop here for any questions. And then here's my contact information if you'd like. And so I definitely welcome anyone who is interested in learning more. I can definitely get into more depth in terms of some of the numbers or some of the strategies or what the investment actually entails. And so it's probably best for you to go to my website, because then that links to my calendar. So you'll be able to just book a time to schedule a call with me, and then we can talk a little bit more in depth about your particular situation.
I'm definitely interested in talking to you more. Are you going to send out your slide deck, or at least that contact slide?
Sure, I can send Marie all of my information in like a message, so that she can post. I don't know what's easier, posting it in the group, or I can even post it in the chat once I come off this screen. I can't see the chat right now, but I could even post it in the chat if that's easier.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I keep saying invested.
Because you want to invest. I
Yeah,
understand.
exactly.
I get it.
Exactly. Well, whenever anyone says work from anywhere and stop, getting a W-2, you got me.
Well, I'm not there yet. I'll be honest. I'm not there at stopping the W-2 yet, but I'm trying to get there.
Well, you just mentioned you got me. So
okay.
I was just talking about in our book club with Mickey today, we were reading Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And, I read that book a long time ago. And my first real estate investing seminar was back in like 2005, right? And I think it was maybe not the first one, but it might have been, it was somewhere in like 2006 or whatever. I think I was at like a Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki is in the front of the room. He's telling you to like make some goals. And I was like, I am going to quit my day job by the time I'm 40. And I'm reading Think and Grow Rich, and he's talking about making decisions and how once you make that decision, you're going to manifest it. And I'm like, dang, why didn't somebody tell me back then that I could have made the decision to quit my job when I was 30? What did I waste 10 more years for? Right? So like just going for it. And I think like making a decision and implementing it. And so right now your subconscious mind, as Liz likes to say, is telling you, I'm investing because this is what I want to do. So I love that.
I have a PhD in procrastination.
Yes.
But it's only because I don't like losing my money. And, when I made a windfall in real estate was back in 2003 when my dad told me he was walking away with property, and I just got laid off. And so after basically making 260,000 revenue off of the deal, I realized this was my home. But I also knew that I got away with that by the skin of my teeth, and it could have been very easy for me to lose everything. I mean, I had a handyman working for me. If he would have fallen off the roof, I would have been done, right? And so I told myself, look, there's some things that you don't know what you don't know. So find a group, mastery, that can get you in a place where you won't lose your shirt or your home or your assets. And
but guess what? I mean, when we know better, we do better, right? And so
exactly.
That's just what it is. Like, I mean, I think it's awesome that you were able to make that kind of return. And then now you're going to calculate, or you're going to take calculated risks with that revenue. So, I mean, There's nothing wrong with being cautious, but sometimes our caution prevents us from doing things. And that's when we kind of need to be like, okay,
I,
I
I
gotta,
I don't have any regrets, Lorraine. I just didn't want to make a mistake or get sued and lose everything. And
yeah,
so I waited for Mastery to come along. And once they came along, I jumped in it. Here's my credit card. I'll pay the rest, kind of thing. Oh, here's like 4 or 5 credit cards. I'm getting there.
yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? And I'm still paying off on those credit cards, but it's because I knew what I didn't know. And I wasn't about to make the mistake that people do by just jumping in and being egotistical and making wrong decisions and finding out in court that was a bad move for me.
Right.
All right, Lorraine, I'm gonna
Oh.
stop the sharing just
Okay.
so we can
I
all
was
see
like,
each
wait,
other,
oh,
and
what
you
happened?
can post. No, I did that. So you can post your contact info, but I wanted to ask you, what is the typical return? Like, I'm just imagining,
Yes.
somebody, like, if I'm buying a performing note, let's just
Mhm.
say, right? I mean,
Mhm.
interest rates, mortgage rates are so low right now. What is a typical return that you would see on a performing note, let's just say?
So no, you're right. I think interest rates right now are relatively low, but that's right now, or that's in the past, I want to say maybe 3 years. So a lot of these notes that are being sold right now, they aren't newly originated notes. These
Okay.
are relatively seasoned notes. I want to say that they are at least maybe 8, 9 years, generally 8, 9 years seasoned. And so that's part of the reason why these banks and hedge funds are selling these notes, because they've essentially made back most of their money in the first 5 to 7 years of this note, because that's mostly interest. And so now them selling it when it's 8, 9, 10, 11 years seasoned, now they're going to get a lump sum based on that money to be able to just rinse and repeat on another note. So I say that to say that most of these notes or most of these mortgages have been generally locked in at a 9, 10, 8% interest rate. So it's not the 3, 4, 2% interest rates that we're seeing right now. So that helps to improve your ROI. And then a lot of times we want to get that mortgage note that's around 10 years season, because then that generally leaves about 10, 15 years left on the mortgage. And when you're buying a non-performing note, you don't necessarily want to buy something that's close to maturity, because that is going to cut down on your ROI. And sometimes it doesn't make much sense for me to purchase a note that's going to mature in less than 5 years, unless I'm getting it for a really great price.
So Lorraine,
So-
with that being said, are you facilitating the deal to find the notes and have the notes? Is that part of what your company does?
Yes. So
If somebody would come to you and say, I'm looking for some notes, and you help facilitate that within what's happening. So we're not going out and looking for them. We can come to
No.
you and you can help.
Yes. So I have access to a monthly inventory of notes, and it's generally a mixture of performing and non-performing notes. And so the people that I work with, I generally offer them kind of two avenues. One avenue, especially if you're a newer investor and you want to get started in notes, but you don't want to necessarily fly on your own, I kind of offer like a learn while you earn type of scenario, where we can partner together on this particular note, and then I essentially walk through with you on this note. So I'm doing most of the, and when I say day to day, again, it's not very similar to a landlord where you have to be on site, but I'm doing most of the communication with the servicing company, with the attorney, generally the realtor in the beginning. But I'm doing most of that communication, but you're still involved so that you can get a lay of the land in terms of what the note investing entails. Then I also come across people who are like, okay, well, I'm not necessarily interested in a joint venture, but I also don't want to do all of the due diligence and the research that's associated with the note. So I will essentially offer them a done for you type of option, where I am still, you're going to present me with your criteria. I'm looking for a performing note, maybe if you're location specific in this particular area, and my budget is X, Y, and Z. So once I have that criteria based upon the inventory that I have, I can search through my inventory and say, okay, Liz wanted a performing note in Georgia that cost about 15,000. Again, just throwing out numbers there. And so then I would be able to do the research and the due diligence on this property to make sure that all the numbers made sense. And then I would present that to you, and then you would essentially say yay or nay in terms of, okay, yes, this is something I want to move forward with, or maybe not so much. So those are generally the avenues that I present to people that I work with.
Great.
Does this give you the ability to diversify and to grow your revenue base? Because you're teaching people how to do this, and you're getting a piece of the you're getting skin in the game as well.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, it is still a business, right? But I feel like I truly enjoy this strategy, and I do want to share this with people who are interested in diversifying their portfolio. So yes, I think it helps me because I get to just kind of stay abreast of all the things that are happening within the mortgage note space, but then I'm also helping someone else kind of grow within their business, or help them reach whatever investing goals that they have.
So are you mentoring so that the individual will learn and be able to fly off on their own and do their own deals?
I would think that it would come to that. I mean, everybody's personality is different. Some people, they might just want to invest, and it might take them a little while before they're actually ready to fly on their own. So yeah, we can continue to joint venture until you're ready to fly out on your own, or we can maybe just continue to joint venture. I mean,
I would like to do both, to be honest with you.
yeah, then that the flexibility is yours. If you feel, because obviously when you're joint venturing, you're splitting profits, right? So
Right.
at some point or another, you realize like, okay, I think I have a pretty good handle on this. I think I can kind of go out on my own and invest in my own mortgage notes. I mean, obviously I would think with the same premise that you would still want to be provided with the inventory and have all the due diligence and all that stuff done for you. And then you can basically get 100% of the profits versus the split, then that's certainly an option.
I'm not greedy, so
I mean,
multiple slices of the pie makes a whole pie, right?
all right, that's fair. That's fair.
So
Lorraine, you're
Lorraine,
part of Fortune Builders too, right?
Yes. Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay,
I'm
so
a fortune builder.
how long does a person typically hold a note?
Yeah, so that's specific to that person's strategy. So if you're getting a non-performing note, you're generally not deciding to stay into it too long, because the way that you recoup your investment is either through the foreclosure process or redeeming the property and then selling it, or buying and holding, or whatever that strategy is. For performing notes, and again, I'm gonna get into a little bit more advanced strategies. The performing notes have a little bit of flexibility with it as well, because when you're purchasing a performing note, you're gonna pay more for the performing note because there's less risk involved. So you're gonna want to hold on to that for at least a good amount of time to be able to recoup most of your investment and have the opportunity to get a return. So that can be anywhere from 6 months to a year, or maybe a little bit longer. And that's why I suggest maybe if you're not as concerned with cash flow, maybe you do that in a retirement account, so that that's money that you're not looking to have liquid for you anyway. But then you also have the option with performing notes to sell a partial. And so what that means is, I'm going to try to give a easy example here. So let's say you buy a performing note and there's 60 payments left. Well, maybe that's 5 years, but anyway, there's 60 payments left on the mortgage. You, as the note investor, have purchased this performing note, and you have, let's say you kept it for a year. So maybe now there's 48 payments left. You can decide to sell maybe 24 of those payments to an end investor, and they will give you a lump sum for those 24 payments. Let's say they give you $5,000 or $10,000, whatever it is. Then after those 24 payments are done, now you pick up the back end of those payments, and you start receiving payments again as if you are the bank. So that allows you to purchase the performing note, make a little bit of money on the front end, then you get a lump sum that you might throw into another note, and then at the end of those 24 months, now you're picking up the remaining 24 months, and that'll generally be all profit, generally, depending on how much you pay for. So again, hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but that's just an option. So I'm not sure if that answered your question in terms of how long people hold on to it, but it can provide the flexibility to say, okay, let's say you're someone who wants flexibility, doesn't want to be tied into one investment. If it's a performing note, that gives you the option to make a little bit of money up front, so you can use that liquidity to put into another investment, and then you can still pick up the investment on the back end.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there an exit strategy for performing notes?
Yeah, you can sell it. I mean, generally, if it's seasoned, you can sell it to another investor if there's enough meat on the bones. And that's why I said, if you're buying a performing note, sometimes it doesn't make sense to buy it if the maturity is less than 5 years, because there's not going to be much meat on the bones for you to sell it to someone else. You're going to want at least a good amount of time, so that either you're making your money and then having enough to sell it to someone else, or at least it's enticing enough for them to be like, okay, I'll still purchase this because I see that there's profit.
Okay.
Because as a performing note, again, we're purchasing the debt associated with the property. We're not purchasing the property. So as long as that person is continuing, as long as the initial borrower is continuing to make their payments, we don't really necessarily have any claim to the property. So there's not really much exit strategies that you can execute there, other than, okay, I'm continuing to get paid, which is generally not a bad thing. I mean, you're getting cash flow, but it doesn't provide many exit strategies other than the partials that I mentioned, or selling it to an end investor.
Okay.
Lorraine, are there specific states that you prefer to invest in? I mean, you mentioned non-judicial states, Arizona here, we're non-judicial. I'm from New York originally. I don't ever recommend buying a house or selling a house in New York. It's not fun. Sitting face to face with your lawyers. It's a whole different thing than we're used to here in Arizona. But are there specific, is that, the biggest factor, judicial versus non-judicial, or are there any other things that you look for as far as location to buy those notes?
So I will say that there are some locations that are starting to maybe require people to have a license in order to be able to purchase notes. I believe Georgia is one of them, and there might be a couple of other states following suit. Traditionally, Florida seems to be a challenging state, because we also have to factor in landlord versus tenant friendly states, right? New York is a tenant friendly state. We don't necessarily, as note investors, want to invest in states that are tenant friendly, because that's just going to make our job a little bit more difficult. Texas is a really hot state, literally and figuratively. So Texas might be a state that I would say, okay, yes, that's some place that I would like to invest. I mean, I like Wisconsin, even though, and it's funny because Wisconsin is a judicial state, but I just happened to come across a good deal there. So I would really have to kind of work with the person to see what your tolerance is before necessarily suggesting, okay, this state versus that state, because something that might work for me might not work for someone else, and something that doesn't work for somebody else will work for me. So it's really dependent. Like, similar to Roberta's question, like, how long do I have to be in it? If you're in a state that might give us more of a headache trying to sell a property versus not, that might not work for you, but it might work for me, because I might not be as reluctant to stay into an investment for a longer period of time. So, and I know that wasn't a specific answer to your question, but it just really depends. It really depends.
How does a property become worthy of a note purchase?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, So, okay, I've had, people that don't qualify necessarily for a loan
Mhm.
in the open market due to whether it's credit, due to immigration status, something like that. They still have the money and they still need a place to live.
Mhm.
And I've often thought, well, are they a good note person then, where somebody else is taking on that debt for them because they, can't qualify, for a regular loan?
And that situation sounds perfect for either like a contract for deeds where the underwriting is a little bit more lax than maybe a conventional mortgage that you will get from an institution, or even a seller financing. So this speaks a little bit more to what I was mentioning in terms of, let's say you're performing an exit strategy, you redeem the property and you want to do a buy and hold or a lease option. Now you're creating your own notes. So if you're doing this in your backyard and you happen to take back a property, you can create a note and be able to do a seller finance for these particular borrowers that you have that might not qualify for a traditional mortgage, but now you as the bank are able to offer them a mortgage, because now you're doing a seller finance. So you essentially can create your own notes eventually.
Well, thank you. And you did an amazing job. You know a lot of stuff, girl. So
Thanks. I appreciate
how'd you
that.
learn all this?
I always get nervous with speaking engagements, but I think I'm starting to get a little better. So.
Oh no, don't. You've done wonderful. I mean,
Oh,
it's amazing.
thank you.
You've
Thank you so
wonderful,
much.
wonderful. Very knowledgeable. It's great.
So Lorraine,
I'm sorry. So Roberta, they're not always distressed properties. No. Maybe sometimes the non-performing ones that have been maybe vacant for a good amount of time, maybe sometimes those are distressed, but not all the time are all the properties distressed. But if they are distressed, based on our experience, that what is it? Mold is gold or something like that. I mean, it just, it kind of helps the situation a little.
Oh yeah, pet urine smells like money. Let me tell you.
You would know, Liz.
That's hilarious.
So do adult use diapers. We won't go all the way there, but it smells.
And now you're getting gross.
Dolores, did you have another question?
Yeah, I actually wanted
sorry.
to have a little bit more understanding of Lorraine, her background. I never met her before, and I understand she's from New York. So how long have you been doing this? And you said that you have another job and you're doing this on the side. So
yeah, so yes, I'm in the Bronx and I've been doing mortgage note investing. I want to say it's almost 2 years now. I got involved with this a little bit like shortly after I started with Fortune Builders. It kind of found me on my real estate journey. But yeah, so I've been a paralegal for a number of years now. And honestly, the opportunity, because I'm still able to work from home for my full-time job, so that has allowed me to multitask, building the real estate business and then still doing my full-time job for right now. So yeah, I mean, and I know it's sometimes you hear someone who still has a job and they're like, okay, they're doing the business. So what time do you have to really dedicate to one or the other? But being in business has really allowed me to kind of use my time more efficiently. And I'm still getting better at that. But I am able to multitask. So there's definitely time for everyone to buy notes. No, just kidding. Yeah.
yeah, so I was interested how you got involved with this, because Fortune Builders, they don't speak to this in any of the training that I've attended.
No.
So I'm like, how did you get involved? And how'd you get the training to understand how to get involved? Because I think that's kind of what your ex question is how do you get involved with this so you can do this and develop this as a business for yourself?
Dolores, the first thing I did was I went out to Mastery and started looking for investing in notes, and nothing came up. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I need to know.
Maybe they should like hire me and I can create a module for them and then they can pay me some royalties based on that. I have no problems doing that. No, just
Well,
kidding.
I'm sure Than would snatch you up real quick and
Yeah.
put you over the notes department. So
Yeah, as long as you give him back 10% of everything
right,
you sell to the
right.
rest of the
Right.
But it would probably be well worth it though to do that though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that platform could definitely give you a lot of exposure.
Yeah, yeah. So how I came across notes is that, so when we start Fortune Builders, they tell us to network, right? And they tell us to go to all these different meetings and all of these different things. So I had started going to my RIA meetings. And so one evening they had a presentation from a lady from a company called Note Assistance Program. And so she was talking about becoming the bank and doing all these things. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it just clicked because I'm like, okay, I'm spinning my wheels and I'm in New York. So, the competition here is crazy. And so I'm here spinning my wheels trying to look for distressed properties or distressed sellers. And they want $500,000 for a house that's falling down. And I'm like, okay, this is not working. This is not what they told me in my 3-day workshop. So,
And they curse you out like
yeah,
there's no tomorrow. You put up some bandit signs in New York and they are
they will
hunting you
find you.
down. They
Yeah,
are ready to kill you.
yeah.
I know, I did it out in Staten Island. By the way, Lorraine, where are you in the Bronx?
So I'm East Bronx. So I'm really close to Mount Vernon. I'm about, I want to say driving, I'm probably about like 15 minutes away from Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, okay. So I actually have some family that lives in Locust Point, right next to
Oh,
the
nice.
Neck Bridge. And then,
Okay.
yeah, my high school sweetheart lived in Parkchester. So I used to take
Ah,
the 6 train up there.
yes. Yeah, I'm by the 2 and the 5 train. So, but I'm definitely familiar with Parkchester. Yes, it's not far from me. That's probably like 10 minutes drive. And it's funny because depending on where you're going in the Bronx, it takes you either longer or shorter. It's so confusing.
Well, the traffic is a bitch.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you're driving anywhere, it's horrible. Okay, so wait, so go back to this. So you're at a local RIA and they're
Mhm.
talking about the note assistance program and becoming the bank. And
Mhm.
so is this another like, did you end up buying this program? Was this like a little,
Yeah, I did.
yeah,
Because
it
I
was
mean, I
another
felt
program
like,
you bought.
okay,
Yeah.
because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have this Fortune Builders education, right? But it's not necessarily applying to my market or my area. So maybe my name is so maybe I can apply these strategies along with the knowledge that I have with Fortune Builders and kind of just mirror it all together. Take my networking capabilities and the network that I have with Fortune Builders with this strategy that nobody really knows about. And then the fact that through this program, I have the ability to have access to inventory, that's where the game changes, because the biggest stress point for real estate investors is inventory. And so if I can take advantage of this inventory that I have access to, coupled with the real estate minds that I am networking with, that's just a perfect marriage. So yeah.
So Lorraine, so where is your basically your inventory coming from? Do you have a partnership with somebody that is feeding this to you? And it also sounds like you're offering JV opportunities.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes, sure. So kind of when I was doing the presentation and I was saying how to get started and having access to inventory and the relationships or the networking that you have with these banks and hedge funds. So me personally, I couldn't walk into a bank and say, okay, let me buy 123 Main Street from off your books. So the benefit of me being aligned with this note assistance program, they've already done that legwork. They've already established relationships with these banks and hedge funds to the point where their credibility has allowed them to receive a monthly inventory, access to a monthly inventory of these notes. So because I have this access to inventory and because I
have the ability to network with different investors who might be interested in getting involved with mortgage loan investing. I'm trying to mirror those two, or marry those two, I should say. Taking the access from the associations that I have with the networking that I've made with other people. And that's how I fit into the equation, right? I'm the glue that brings the inventory and the investor together. And so that's where the joint venture comes in, because I have the inventory, or I have access to the inventory. And then maybe you, as the investor who wants to get involved, who might not have all of the experience or the knowledge regarding mortgage loan investing, that's how our joint venture or joint partnership can work.
Very interesting. So also another question I wrote down is basically what is the recommended percentage of the note do you like look for? Like say the note that what's owed on the note is 50,000. Mm-hmm. What's the percentage you're looking at to actually purchase that?
Yep. So for a performing note, if the unpaid balance, which is the amount that's owed on the mortgage, to your example, is 50,000, for a performing note, we're generally looking to pay about 80 to 85% of that unpaid balance. Because like I said, for a performing note, you're going to pay a little bit more for that because there's generally less risk involved, and there's less like expenses that you would have to pay for that particular note. If it's a non-performing note, we're generally looking to pay about 45 to 50% of that unpaid balance, generally. Now, depending on how hairy the note is, meaning if there's back taxes, if there's liens, depending on the condition of the property, that sort of thing, that number could slightly be a little bit more flexible, but that's generally the guidance that we're looking for on those.
And you also mentioned something to somebody else's question. You had mentioned something about needing to have a license. What kind of license were you referring to?
So, I mean, we're essentially buying loans. So my understanding is that the license would have to be some sort of mortgage broker's license in order to be able to buy these loans.
Okay.
And not every state is requiring that, but some are starting to go along those lines.
So say I wanted to, I partner with you, or JV with you, and you find something in Wisconsin. You're not in Wisconsin, I'm not in Wisconsin. Do you have to establish an LLC in Wisconsin to be able to do this?
And that's funny because I actually looked into that, because my LLC is not registered in Wisconsin. It's actually registered in Nevada, and I have a foreign filing in New York. But every state is specific, and Wisconsin in particular doesn't require you to foreign file your LLC in Wisconsin unless you have a business in Wisconsin. So owning a property or doing anything with property isn't considered a business. It's let's just say you own a McDonald's or something like that in Wisconsin. At that point, that's when you would have to register your LLC in Wisconsin. But if I'm just owning property or something like that, I don't have to foreign file in that state. Not every state's going to be that way. There are some states where if you're planning to do business there, you're going to have to register your LLC. And then that would more so be the question for the attorney, depending on whatever state we're investing in. But I know that specifically for Wisconsin because I did look into that.
Right. So. Yeah. I found that out when I bought a property through the Passive Income Club in Arkansas. Like, I have to create an LLC in a register in Arkansas. So
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the questions. I think Michelle had a question about tax liens. So I have started looking at tax liens, but I haven't purchased any yet. And tax liens are relatively similar to mortgage notes, except that with tax liens, you're really just you purchasing the tax lien, you're really just looking for interest. Now, if you purchase the tax lien and they don't redeem the tax lien within the time frame, then depending on the state, it can turn into a tax deed, and then you have the option to get the property back. But more often than not, with a tax lien, you're really just in it for the cash flow or for the interest, essentially. But no, I have not done a tax lien, but I have looked into it because I think it's pretty interesting.
That's what I thought about as soon as you started talking. I'm like, this sounds a lot like tax liens.
It is very similar, but I think with the mortgage notes, you have a greater likelihood of redeeming the property as compared to tax liens. And with tax liens is not as flexible. It's either you're getting the interest based on whatever the state offers, or you're getting, or you potentially have the option to get the property back. But usually you're waiting that whole time frame. Most times the redemption periods are a year, 18 months, 2 years. So you're essentially locked in to that tax lien for that period of time, unless the borrower pays you back within the redemption period. But there's not as much flexibility with tax liens. So that is really okay, I'm going to put my money into this and just wait. And I like the flexibility of notes.
Better than a 401k though.
Oh yeah,
Well,
true.
you know what,
that was wrong with it.
That's what I was just thinking. Now that I'm rolling this over, I have some, I have to do my own due diligence about figuring out where I want to put my 401k money that I'm rolling over.
Exactly.
So, kind of a little bit of diversification, and this sounds like a really good option to at least, consider for a portion of it, that, even if it is a little bit longer, it's okay because it is, 401k money. But seems like a good place to look into. So yeah, Lorraine, I'll definitely be scheduling a call.
Oh, sure.
Lorraine, do you know Paige? Lorraine, do you know Paige Panzera?
I have Panzarello, I think. I have heard of her. I haven't spoken with her, but I know she
hunt her
does.
down, like at Ignite. She's usually there if we have Ignite and you go. She's an expert at this too. And you two, good Lord, you could be on fire. That's just a good, both of you,
I have to, I don't think I've ever had a conversation, but I am familiar with who she is. And I know we're a little bit different because I think she offers like a program, like a training program. And I'm not necessarily doing that, at least not at this stage. I'm more so looking to do the investments versus like the training, mentoring aspect of it, again, at least for right now.
I know, but it's just amazing that both you're both so knowledgeable. Well, and from what I've heard, and her story is interesting and how she got in there and what had happened. So it's just somebody like a like for like, to know and be in contact with.
Yeah, so I might reach out to her. I'm like, hey.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think I will.
Yeah, very good.
So I did put, I don't know, I don't think it's clickable, but I did put my website in the chat. And
I also copied and pasted it and put it in the weekly huddle.
Okay, perfect.
In the comments, at least for the picture that I took of all of us earlier. There's also the comment with Lorraine's website, so you can book a call with her.
Because
which I'm actually trying to do right now, and trying to check my calendar to make sure I can actually make the appointment that I'm going to book.
Yeah, because that website will link you directly to the page where you can book a call, and that call links directly to my calendar. So it just keeps everything nicely.
I know, all through HubSpot, right? And
that's don't you love it? Don't you love it? Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to thank everyone for all the questions. They were really good questions, and I hope I was able to clarify as much as I could. Anything that you needed to know.
I think you did a great job.
Lorraine, is it possible that you can share your slide deck? Or would you rather keep that to yourself?
I don't think there's anything necessarily proprietary on here. I could probably share this. I don't know if it's going to make much sense without my commentary, though.
Well, we have it recorded.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
This is
Recorded.
being recorded right now, Yurik.
So
So
the mother of all learning is repetition, right?
That's right.
So
I think the recording might be the best because I mean, as I'm looking at my slide deck, I'm like that. It was just talking points for me, and then I just elaborated through the video. So I think the video might be best.
yeah, and I'll post it on YouTube, and Lorraine will get some backlinks
Ah, nice.
for all of you that don't know what we're talking about right now. You should
Join TRC.
yes, join TRC, and Lorraine just got to send me which website she wants the backlink to.
Okay.
You
Or
just let me
maybe
know.
it can backlink to my YouTube, right? I don't know how.
You can send me, I can put in as many websites or links that you want. It's okay. YouTube gives you like 10,000 words or something, whatever
I'm
you
still
want in
gonna
there.
understand how all that stuff
I
works.
got you.
but
I got
okay.
you.
You're the expert.
I'm
That's
getting better at it. Liz, like I said, Liz and I today recorded like legitimately like 12 videos that are going to be going on YouTube and then our website. So it's
nice.
very exciting.
I'm gonna get on it. I keep saying it, but I am gonna get on it. Like I'm ready.
Yeah,
Just
and
use
so
the teleprompter, and you'll be like, oh my God, this is so easy. I'm gonna do all of them today.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, how difficult it was without the teleprompter app. I'm like, what were we thinking? Now that we have it, it's like amazing. And for any of you who don't know this, actually, you know what? I'll share my screen real quick. We'll go back to our ninja tips.
Well, real quick too, the other secret is to have a good halo light. I mean, have a halo light with a stand.
Can you put that info in the chat too? The teleprompter app. What is it?
Yes. I will put
I
the
bought
link.
a light from my computer and I forget the company, but then it died on me. So I'm like, okay, I need to find another light that attaches to my laptop or something.
Okay, so just so you all know, so we have some videos on our YouTube channel, right? But they were really bad. Like, I'm just gonna say, you know, like we forgot to wear makeup, like we weren't sure what we were doing. We're trying to read off the side of the wall, but the ring light is right there, so it's blinding us, so we can't see the words that are behind us on the wall. Like, it really was a shit show, just to be honest. So one is we were like, oh my gosh, we have to re-record all these videos. But then I was like, shit, I have to like figure out what we said in all these videos. So in case you didn't know this, if you go to a YouTube video and you're watching it and you click, okay, we'll pause that. You click on these lovely 3 dots. Everyone's seeing my screen right now, right? I'm not crazy.
Yes.
Okay, so you click these lovely 3 dots and you click open transcript. Well, guess what? Everything that is said is right here.
That's
and you
awesome.
can take off the timestamps. And so now you can literally like highlight and copy and paste all of this. So if you have someone else's video that you really like and you're like, oh, I want to record that and make it mine, you can still do this. It doesn't have to be on your YouTube channel. It's any YouTube video. You can copy this transcript. And then we literally took this, we like put it in a Google Doc, right? Like we were literally in like Google Drive and just basically we're like, okay, let's create a new file. We pasted it in there and then we like went through and made it easy for ourselves so that we knew who was going to talk. So did I paste? Okay, so we're literally like, okay, hi, I'm Marie and I'm Liz. And then it's like Liz, like, and we're with, well, and these said L&M Property Solutions, which we don't go by anymore. So we had to edit this. So like, we're with Liz and Marie. And then it's like, okay, Marie, it's your turn to speak. Are you a landlord that's tired of tenants, toilets, and termites?
Okay, Marie, when we go down there tomorrow, let's video us videoing and then we can
Yes.
that so they can
Oh my
see
gosh, you can see our process of craziness. But so we like went through and then we made this and then literally in the teleprompter app, let's see, I don't know if, I mean, I don't think they make it for the, I think it's called it would be good if I could spell teleprompter light. I think it is like that on my phone. because it's in the Apple Store. If I can find the actual link.
Okay, so it doesn't work on the Android?
This is it. Well, you know what? I don't know, honestly, but this is the one that I have because I do have an Apple, but it might.
Video teleprompter lights.
It's so funny because see how it has the countdown timer? Before we'd videotape ourselves, and then I'd have to go in and edit out the beginning and the end because it was us pushing the go button and then sitting there for a second and then starting, and then the same thing at the end. Whereas the countdown gives us however what we did 5 seconds, but it was our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we could go. So we'd
then we get out all the okay, let's do it. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready.
So
okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this into, let's see, can I open up the chat while I'm in here? Chat.
Oh, it says it's only for iPhone and iPad.
oh,
It's right at the top, says this app available only.
but maybe
Well,
there's another.
I did go to a link though on the app, on the Apple one. So there's gotta be, so like here, there's Teleprompter Pro Lite on Google Play.
Google Play. Okay.
So I'm sure, I mean, I'm sure they, you know, this is their own version of it. I'm sure that there's plenty of free ones. The only thing that I will tell you is the free version does put a like really, really small little like logo in the corner, but it's really easy to crop it out, guys. So you just do your video and then go into edit and then just like crop the size of the video and you take out their logo. So I feel bad that I'm using their free version, but they made it really easy to edit. Okay, that's it. I'm done with my ninja tips for tonight. We were just so excited that we used this today and we were like, we have to tell everyone.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for that share.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, and I just realized that I put it in the chat, but I sent it only to Whitney directly because that was the last person. I got to put it in everyone in the chat so you guys can grab that link if you need it. But like I said, you can just find it on your Google Play Store.
No, it's just for me only.
Yeah, just for Whitney. Hi, Whitney.
Hey.
Wait, so Whitney, is this officially your first huddle?
This is, and I'm so sorry for being late. There was some things that could not be helped.
No, it is fine. So Whitney is like the newest addition to the Fortune Builder family, at least to our weekly huddle. She's actually was in Fortune Builders for a long time, but she was in the military and she paused her stuff and now she's back, right?
Yes, ma'am. I had to go. I deployed and came back, and we had a baby, so I took a pause, and I'm getting back into it. So ready to rock and roll.
Very good.
We're happy to have you here, Whitney.
Thank you.
So everybody, I made Louie come in and say hi.
Come out and say,
Come out. Yeah, come out of the closet, Louie. Come out.
outside. We're out in the backyard.
Oh, there's Whitney. Hey, Whitney.
Hi, Whitney.
What, Whitney, you are muted. So I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear you.
It's the phone. I've had so much trouble with this app, and it's been so bad.
I was gonna say I have on a beautiful purple shirt too, but my shirt is looking blue on my screen, and I don't know why, because it's literally like the same color as your shirt in real life, but that's really weird. Okay.
Oh, it has to do with the lighting. You know that, all with the lighting.
Weird. Purple's my favorite color. And Whitney, thank you for your service. I love you.
You're welcome.
Peace and love, like Liz always says, peace and love.
Love.
All right, so any more questions for Lorraine before we jump off the call tonight?
Lorraine, I plan on sending you I don't know, booking a call with you when I can find time on my calendar.
Sure, looking forward to it, Wendy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know it's late for you, Lorraine, so thank you so much for staying up with us. And
No
yes,
problem. I had
it was well worth it.
I
And
was
you
like, oh, it's a late night.
I know that 3-hour time difference kills me when I'm trying to talk to my family back in New York. Like,
I'm gonna jump because I need to eat before 8 o'clock. It's nice seeing all you young ladies. Thank you for having me.
You held it down for the
yes,
guys.
it's good to see you, Yorick.
Yes, yes. You guys take care. Stay safe.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. Bye-bye.
All right, Lorraine, and what we'll see you Monday night, right?
Yes, you will.
I won't be there. I'll still be in the Grand Canyon, y'all.
Oh, nice.
You'll have to do this one without me.
Yep.
You'll have some
But
great pictures for us.
also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the group. You know, enjoy this weekend, no matter what you're doing. I happen to be spending mine away from my children and hiking the Grand Canyon, but that's okay.
Happy Mother's Day.
That's what they say most moms want to do. They be like, no, don't talk to me.
Yes.
Leave the nest, and then you're like, well, aren't you gonna come over?
Well, Liz's son texted her and said, hey, Mom, I'm going to come over and cook dinner on Sunday. And she's like, why?
No, I said to him, do you have the wrong text thread? I was serious. I was like, he's like, we'll be over like 3 o'clock. And I was like,
Well, he's bringing dinner, right?
well, and then Marie's like, oh, something about Mother's Day. And I was like, oh my God, that's why he's making dinner.
He's bringing you dinner, right? You're not cooking.
Oh no, I'm not cooking. He's coming to make it. And I was like, why are you coming over? Okay, whatever.
Mother's Day, everybody.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
All right.
Happy Mother's Day.
Okay, bye.
Yes, happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Bye.